Whether it's culture shock, cancel culture, or cultural norms, there is one thing that the Buffalo Bills might be overlooking, and this one thing is huge. Let's get into the show. It's the Unbelievable Podcast. Let's go.
I might have to let it drop. Let it drop.
I might have to let it drop.
All right, what's going on, everybody? This is the Unbelievable Podcast on the Buffalo Media Network, and we got to get moving. We only got an hour, so before we get to this cultural thing that the Buffalo Bills might be overlooking, let's start with some. You wanted to get to players. Is that?
Well, I think it's going to be a cultural thing. So let's do
Okay.
whatever your thing is.
You sure?
Well, let's do this. Okay, let me start. See if it wets your whistle.
Go for it.
If it wets your whistle, because I'm saying, I mean, I don't want to bang on the topic, but is it happening? Is it back?
Is what back?
The Triple B, Big Baller Bean.
Oh, my
Is
God.
it happening?
No.
Are you entertained? Are you not entertained? Because I can tell you, I'm not. You know, I'm not entertained because I've seen this movie before. You've seen this movie before. You guys have seen the movie before. Now, how many times we have to go through a preseason where we say it's better than what we had? How about we realize that the reason that the things we had are by the people that are in the front office making the things better before the things that we had. That used to be the things that made things before that better than the things we had before them.
Right.
If that was a tongue twister, a mind screw, I understand because this free agency has been one for me. But you know, remember again through this whole show.
Okay.
Who's putting people in these positions? That's just let that sizzle in your spirit as I go through this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do we say when we had DeMar Hamlin on free agency watch and said, you know, we're done. We're moving on. We're going to go with Cole Bishop. We're going to go with Taylor Rapp. We went and got Derek Forrest, who
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with it, except he's another box safety.
He reportedly was told that he's going to have a chance to come in here and compete for a starting job.
What did Mike Edwards say about that? Did he talk to him? Did we make sure he didn't say anything to Mike Edwards? Because if Mike Edwards got in contact with him, oh man.
Mike Edwards would be like, man, that.
Right. He's like, don't do it.
Right.
They're not going to do what they told you. So the thing is this, you know, this is the team that said, you know, we got DeMar Hamlin starting at safety. You know what? We're going to give you MVS starting at wide receiver. You know what? We're going to have people over the moon about the safety that we had and Cole Bishop that we drafted that we're not using. Now we see Kyer Elam, after I wrote my notes, is no longer a Bill. We hardly knew ye. So we got a 5th round draft pick for him, a 7th round next year for him.
What?
It's a 26th 7th round. So
what's the point in that?
So Kevin Hart style. But on top of that, I didn't know we had to give up a 6th round draft pick as well this year. So I believe we're swapping this year, 6th for next year, 7th Kyer Elam, and a 5th for this year.
Okay.
So I'm hoping at some point they're going to leverage moving into the 3rd round because now everybody's in a tizzy. Ooh, we're going to go ahead and draft a defensive. No, do not take a D tackle at 30th pick. Do not do it. Because all your the value one techs are in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Now, when you say value, what do you mean exactly?
The ones that are actually one techs, the ones that play. I'm not talking about Walter Nolan, who has played. I'm not talking about Ed Oliver. I'm talking about guys that actually are one techs, guys that are 320 pounds, 330 pounds, 340 pounds, 389 pounds, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to typecast like this organization likes to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so go ahead. You say
No, go ahead.
I mean, what I can't stand is the blind faith that the front office expects us to subscribe to. It hurts me.
Yeah,
it hurts me for you guys because every year around this time we get excited. Every year around this time we're like, oh, it's coming. We gonna have. But then they circle the wagons and bring everybody back again.
Yep.
You know, and I've said it many times on our podcast about DeMar Hamlin coming back and being a backup, being this, that, and third. Cool, but guess what? You know why? But see, this is why when you said what you said earlier, I was like, whatever you want to say, I'm cool with it. But What do they always say when they say we started DeMar Hamlin? He's familiar with the system.
Yeah.
Let's see. Cole Bishop, he familiar with the system? Not more than DeMar. What about Derek Forrest? He familiar with the system? So is Cam Lewis going to start at safety now? Is a rookie going to start at safety? That's coming brand new. Is Nick Emmanwori going to be a starting safety?
I don't think they're going to have a 5-way safety competition. Honestly, I really think it's going to come down to DeMar Hamlin, Cole Bishop, this Forrest kid, and Taylor Rapp, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I can tell you either DeMar Hamlin or Taylor Rapp is going to be a starter. Yep. One of the two is going to be a starter, and Bishop and Forrest are vying for the other spot.
Yep. That's what it sounds like.
And I was excited about Forrest. I actually watched some of the only footage I can get. I actually put on our page, if you guys are not following yet, I do have a NFL draft primer kind of series I'm doing.
Okay.
But on top of that, I did one for Forrest. I did some film work and I did some write-ups on him, and he's a box safety. I mean, he lines up on the line at certain times.
Oh wow.
So I didn't really see any ball skills. He has 4 interceptions in his pro career, 4 years. They were all in 2023. All of them. So I mean, I'm not gonna bang on him because he's 26. This is 26 season, so he's 25.8 or whatever pro reference says. But no, I mean it's progress, but don't let it shy you away from talent. Don't let it shy you away from what could be the younger guys coming out with the actual traits that you want to be a blue chipper.
Right. Yeah. Looking at the moves, first and foremost, we know this is what the Bills do every year.
Mm-hmm.
They go and they sign free agents that fill specific holes so that they're not going into the draft desperate for any one position. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
you already know.
Because I said fill holes.
Yes, you already know. Push the button.
I don't have a button yet.
Oh.
We still got to make a button.
Yo.
Let me turn
Pause.
this down. Peeking a little bit here. I don't want to blow nobody's eardrums out. But yeah, so the fact that the Buffalo Bills do this every single offseason during this time, we now know that these free agent signings are not supposed to be any indication of what the Bills' plan is, any indication of what the Bills want to do on offense or defense. It's simply a matter of making sure they do not go into the draft desperate.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they do is they take all their groceries, so to speak, and then they get to June and July and they throw everything on the table and they say, okay, based on everybody we have right now, and based on the scouting reports of everybody, let's get a preliminary plan together for what we think we can do during training camp and, in terms of scheme and plays and stuff like that. And then the process of training camp is just kind of filtering out what we can and can't accomplish with the players that we have. And then they condense everything down to what we can do during, can and can't do during the season. Right.
See, I like that. I like that train of thought. I like that philosophy. If that's what I thought they really were doing, with these signings, they're pulling up. These are guys that are bringing in maybe starters. These are the guys that should be like filling in the rear.
Yeah.
And I'm not discounting what you're saying. It's just you're building it. It's like putting your left arm on your right side and your right arm on your left side.
Well, that's the point I wanted to get to. Is because when you do the things the way they do things, what you're essentially saying is every rookie we draft, we plan on them sitting and developing.
Yep.
And if that's your game plan, then what does that say about the mentality? Like what I think it says is you're expecting to have guys that are going to take time to develop and grow and become what you need in order to win. Mm-hmm. And if that's the way you're drafting, then you're constantly, in a sense, you're kicking the draft can down the road several years just from that 1 year's decision.
Right.
Like, think about what happened with Kyer Elam and how far that sets us back, because now we have to get into a bidding war for Asante Samuel. We have to look at the draft as we may need a corner. We still haven't extended Benford. He's quite possibly trade bait right now.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for James Cook. Mm-hmm. And these are two of the better players on our team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this idea of, well, we're going to fill some holes and we're going to get some guys. I don't want to get us off track with the Joey Bosa thing, but again,
you said it again.
What did I say?
To fill some holes. You said it again. You got to come up with different terminology.
Okay,
you're better than this. You are better than this.
I'm trying. So it's I don't want to get too far into the Joey Bosa things. I don't want to get off track, but even a move like that is.
We're gonna get into it. Don't worry.
Okay,
yeah.
Because like that move in particular it's intended to be okay. We need an elite pass rusher. This guy is an elite pass rusher. No, that was like 4 years ago for him.
More than that,
right? And realistically, when you look at his performance throughout his 9 seasons, he's only had 3 where he's had more than 10 sacks.
Guess what? He hasn't played more than 9 games in 3 years, 3 seasons. And in that, I think I have it here. What did I have? He hasn't had more than 6.5 sacks in those 3 seasons. So let me go back. Before we go into that, let me go back a little further, a little back. When I was saying I'm tired about what they're delivering to the Bills fans. I'm tired for you guys. Even if you guys aren't tired, I'm tired for you. Because I'm a Bills fan. Don't get me wrong, but I'm seeing it a little differently. When I'm tired of watching podcasts all over the place trying to justify, even Sal Capaccio at this point, him and Matt Bove, what do you think about? He's like, when you got to stutter like that, you really got to try to figure out how to smooth this up because you're employed.
Yep. You
got to figure out how to make people say, you know what, that's a good move. That's a good ass move right there. I like it. But Bills fans are going to say, I like the toys of Joey Bosa because I've heard of it. The Josh Palmers because I've heard of them before. But guess what? This is the same thing with Mac Hollins, Quentin Jefferson, Curtis Samuel, and now Mike Hesh. These are the guys that they bring in any massage information. Say, you know what? This is the guy you need. And then the Bills fans are like, let me read up on them. You don't know about these dudes. Now, I can tell you, after looking at Mike Hesh, I was cool with it. I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Lorenzo Alexander. And I'm so mad if Sal Capaccio watches the show. You said it before I did because I wanted to tweet it. Actually, I wanted to text you and tweet it, but I was like, I'm going to save it for the show.
What?
That I thought that Hesh was the next Lorenzo Alexander.
Ooh. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, that definitely fits the bill.
And I mean, the thing is, when you look at, like you said, Joey Bosa, we're going to get into that just right now. He's 30. He's 30 years old. Everybody knows Joey Bosa. And then some people think that it's the one from San Francisco. No, it's his brother, the one that you haven't heard of in 4 years.
Exactly.
And is this a swing for the fence? A real swing? Like everybody says, this is a swing for the. This is gobbledygook.
Exactly.
Because this is another one of those propaganda things that Sal Capaccio has to say to you guys. It's a swing for the. No, it's not. You know why this is? You know why this is a bonehead move? Because you know how everybody says running backs are useless in Buffalo. Defensive line is useless. Let me explain this to you.
Go ahead.
Now I have the numbers here. In McDermott's tenure in Buffalo, we've only had 6 D lineman performances who registered more than 8 sacks in a season. 1 who had more than 10. Greg Rousseau was 2 of the 8. Now, I say this, and I'm not done. The Buffalo Bills last year were below average with 39 sacks. 23, they had 54. They were 4th. In 22, they were 14th with 40. 21, they were 11th with 42. In 2020, they were 15th with 38. You see, they're all about the same number. 38, 41, 41, 27. Now everybody says, oh, McDermott was so aggressive in 23. No. It just felt that way. Because if you look at the 40, how is it that you were ranked 4th with 54, but if you go 2 years previous, you had 42 and you were 11th? That's a hell of a drop off.
Wow.
Now, if you compound that, I ran some other numbers. Guess what? Those numbers, are you impressed by those numbers?
Not at all.
Why did in 2024 we have the 7th highest paid defensive line? 23, we had the 5th highest paid defensive line. 22, 17th. 21, 2nd. 20th in 2020 and 2019, the 1st highest defensive line pay. 18, 10th, and 17, 13th. 17 was inherent from Rex. So whatever.
They've consistently overpaid on defense.
Overpaying for what? You go get Joey Bosa and pay him 12-6. Guess what? Everybody poo-pooed on Josh Sweat. How much did he make? What's his guarantee this year? It's less than Joey Bosa's. It's less his cap number. Joey Bosa, if you massage, if he has void years, I'm gonna lose my ish. I'm gonna lose my ish.
He probably
if
does.
he has, because he has to.
Yeah.
12.6. He has to.
Yeah.
So he's on the payroll for 2 more years. We'll say when he's not going to be here if he's hurt. I mean, what are we doing here? Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa are the same guy. Rousseau's probably an upgrade
at this point in their careers. And here's the other thing. Greg Rousseau has been way healthy his whole career.
Yeah.
That's part of his value in general, right?
Mhm.
With a guy like Joey Bosa, first and foremost, Joey Bosa was up for trade like 3 years ago.
Yep.
And the Bills did nothing to go and try and get him then, right? Instead, what we do? I think that might have been the year we signed Miller, wasn't it?
22 we signed Miller.
20, yeah. So that offseason, that would have been the year that we signed Von Miller instead of trading for Joey Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at, you texted this, the last 3 years, the dude has only played 17 games. I get, and look, I was on X this morning, and I was looking at what a lot of the fans
I
were
mean,
saying.
I wouldn't say that. You were on X this morning?
Twitter.
It's not there you go. Because if you're on X, we might have the FBI come here. I don't want to go into that. That's paperwork.
I already got the AO police on my back about
that's
this.
just paperwork I don't want you to do.
Yes, I was doing a bump this morning, and no, but like I was on Twitter this morning, and Elon doesn't care what we call it. And,
He doesn't.
No, he really doesn't. And I was looking at what the fans were saying, and there's a lot of people that were like, this is a great signing, and you saw maybe 2 or 3 people in there saying, injured too often, and I'm like, when we signed Bosa, when we got the news that we signed Bosa, my first thought was, and I texted you this, okay, well, he's going to be in a rotation, so maybe he'll be healthier and be available, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's still something that you're banking on hope.
Mm-hmm.
For your best option as a pass rusher, essentially.
And the most ironic thing about this, we're replacing the situation with the situation.
The same exact situation.
Yeah. And Mark, as much as I like Mike Hoyt or Mike Heck, I'm gonna say Heck just because I gotta make this point. I'm gonna call him Mike Hoyt when I see him play. If he's good, Hoyt. If he's not good, he's whatever the hell I want to call him.
That's right. That's right. That's for damn sure, because I'm tired of all of these names that they get pronounced in no way how they look.
Right.
To me, that's just like Hoecht is somehow Hoyt. Explain that to me.
Right. And if I didn't tell you my name, Keysh, they would have a field day with that.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would. And people look at my name, Aramis, Aramis. Like, for real, the way I pronounce it is Aramis. I say Aramis.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like in Spanish is Aramis.
Well, that would mess me up. But go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like, just names in general just piss me off.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Yeah.
But the crazy part is you actually can't spell names how they're phonetically pronounced
At all.
because then they would look ridiculous.
Your brain will bleed. Mm-hmm.
My brain is bleeding now. I want to go through this series of Twitter posts,
mm-hmm.
and I captured these 4 in succession as kind of a snapshot of really the story on the Bills this season, right? And this is all from Joey Bosa, right?
Mm-hmm.
First one is I want to give him credit. So it's from a guy named Josh.
Is that his name? A guy named Josh?
No, it's
okay.
It's Josh 571666592.
There we go. Now we got Josh, and now you better be a subscriber.
Right. No, he says we rotate him in, and he should stay healthy. Right. Then we got Brian Hammerman. Right. Brian Hammerman says feel like he hasn't been good in years, and Josh is still throwing to hot doo-doo. Okay. Chris Kubera, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, says we'll get 4, maybe 5 games out of him. And then Rico at Rick Kendall says amazed at how Bean is managing this cap. This is just a snapshot of all of the different perspectives on what the Bills are doing and how people are seeing what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the problem with all of this is there's no direct connection conceivably to winning. Right. And every time me and you sit up here and talk about what we see them do in the offseason and what we see on paper, we often look very silly during the regular season, and people can, dunk on us all they want. But you and I, we sit there and we wait for the playoffs because we already know the reason we criticize these kinds of moves is because we're thinking 10 steps ahead of everybody else. And no disrespect to anybody that's out there doing their homework or whatever the case may be, but I was saying last offseason that the Bills were going to be terrible, and they weren't. But that didn't account for everybody else in the NFL being bad as well.
Yeah, we didn't see that coming.
Right. Nobody saw that coming. No, everybody thought the Dolphins would be the best competition in our division. And there were a large contingent of national media thinking that the Jets were going to take over the division. Right? The Patriots were supposed to be this young up-and-coming team. They just drafted their quarterback. They might be sneaky good with the defense and everything that they had, and they just weren't. So all of that is to say, we could very well get into the 25-26 season and win another 13 games and get the second seed in the AFC and then quite possibly get to the AFC Championship again. But what is that going to mean for this team with these players when you have Larry Ogunjobi as your best option at defensive tackle right now? If you've got this guy making $10 million, what makes you think there's going to be a rookie that comes in the third, fourth, fifth round that is actually a one tech that's going to overtake this guy's job for the money? The Buffalo Bills don't operate that way. They're not going to give it to a guy, especially if it's not a position that Sean McDermott wants to put a rookie at. You know what I'm saying? Like it really takes a special kind of guy for Sean McDermott to be like, I want you to come in and start as a rookie. Yeah. Trey White was a special circumstance. He was the leader at LSU that year. He wore the number and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he was a guy that Sean depended on to come in. You starting day one. Yeah. How many other times have we seen that for a defensive player?
Yeah, Gregory Rousseau, and that's about it. Yeah, I mean, I contend the point, and I will say this is where I give the most credit. If you watch One Bills live earlier today, Brandon Beane did not control the cap. Beane's not doing jack. Josh Allen did it because he's too nice, and it pissed me off. It pissed me off because you let him off the hook again. And I mean, okay, you love your boys, but you are mad about Mac Hollins not being here. I know you're happy he's not, but if that upsets you, you could have said, you know what? I'll get his money up, bring my boy back. He was my lead. He was my go-to last year. He didn't because Mac would still be here. You know, and we're talking about Josh Palmer, who had 33 catches last year. Josh don't know nothing about him, but he's going to say he's a great guy. He's got all these tributes. He said, Keon Coleman, I really wanted, because they asked him about the draft or whatever the case may be. And he said, yeah, I would like to say, listen, because that's the guy I wanted. That's cool. But at some point, you're not doing their job for them. You know, like people say, when you're a parent, you don't do your kid's job for them all the time.
That's right.
You let them do it themselves. And now, Josh, you're the parent, they're your sons, and you're doing their work for them. They ain't never going to learn if you do that.
Yeah.
You know, because your eyes got to be on the field. Your eyes got to be in the meeting room, not out who's out there in the waiver wire, who's out there in the draft, who's out there, who the hot name is. That's not your job. You can do mock drafts like the rest of us, but I don't need you to do that. I'm fine with it, but you shouldn't have to.
There's also this potential. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and I thought about this more today.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I do think this is a thing that could happen, which is, you know, Josh now has that network that you know he's going to start doing, you know, television programming or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And for him to take that step into that realm, so to speak, there's a lot of money to be made with content creation in general, especially at that level with the kind of money that he has, right? So when you get into that space and you're making hand and fist at your primary job, but now you step into another space where you're also making just as much money doing way less work as what you do at your regular job, eventually there are things about your current job that start to mean less and other things that start to mean more, right? Right now with where Josh is, football is his life, right? But look at his wife. Look at the life that he's now building. He's making $55 million a year, right? So to invest that money in a production company and start making money on the back end of all those kind of deals that he's going to be doing there, all of the cultural stuff is going to start to mean a lot less here for him, because for him, it's going to get to the point where I'm just going in and I'm playing the game that I love to play. It's not going to be about the culture no more. It's not going to be about the locker room. It's going to eventually become when are we going to win? Right? Because I got this amazing hot wife. I got this production company. I'm super successful and I'm the best everywhere else except in the city that I love, that I play football for. I'm not winning championships there. Right? I can absolutely see Josh getting to a point where he is eventually willing to, come out and say something, against the coaching staff or the culture or whatever the case may be, to get somebody in here that's willing to do what it takes. But that's got to start with Josh, like you said.
You promise?
I can see it happening, bro.
Because I watched that press conference today and I was like, oh Lord Jesus, no. Oh God, no.
You got to give it like 2 years. Give it 2 years of what we seeing now. All of this getting close and getting close.
I don't want close. I want to get close to a trophy. One trophy, not the MVP. The Lombardi. Let me get it off you.
Right. So, did you want to finish what you were getting into, or?
I was just gonna say, in comparison, everybody they poo-pooed on Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat didn't do this. He wasn't that. He had an injury. No, Josh Sweat missed 6 games in 4 years. Mm-hmm. And last year, you think Philadelphia didn't sit some of their starters? So how many games did he really miss due to injury? Even though he tore his knee to shreds early on. Josh Sweat had 33 sacks in 4 seasons. How many did Nick Bosa have? I wait. Nick Bosa's 30. Sweat is 27. Yep. I'll wait. So we see this Von Miller thing all over again. This time it's not $120 million. It's $12 million in one fell swoop. And like we talk about all the time, this notion of the cap number and salary, what they make, hogwash. Because why? It's all about the cap number. Josh Sweat is making he's got a 4-year, 41 million, or no, it's 4-year, 41 guaranteed. So that's not even 10 million. That's 10 million a season. Mm-hmm. You got a 27-year-old guy coming off a Super Bowl. You say you want somebody that's been there before. You say you want somebody that can do these things. So that tells me right now they're not interested in a speed rusher. You're not getting a speed rusher. You can take Mike Green off the board. You can take James Pierce off the board. You can tell me all you want about their character. You can tell me all you want about their character. But guess what? They're not happening. Watch out for Shamar Stewart. Watch out for Nick Scorton. These other big guys. Even I would even say give me Landon Jackson might be one. He might be one. He's Greg Rousseau all over again. That's what they like. Yeah. 6'7", 260, and doesn't really have bend, but kind of power.
But what does all this say about what the Bills want to do on defense? Because the idea was supposed to be, we got all these ball hawks, keeping their eyes on the quarterback on the back, in the defensive backfield, and our defensive line is going to be responsible for wreaking havoc on the quarterback. Mm-hmm. But
when is that going to start?
Well, so here's what it looks like they're getting into right now, because Joey Bosa is very good against the run. Mm-hmm. He's by no means is he an elite pass rusher from a speed and bend kind of technical stance, but he's a great bull rusher. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, he's got great hand coordination and hand moves and counter moves and stuff like that. Very good pass rusher. But he's not the guy that's going to, get there in 2 seconds. You know
who else you just described?
Greg Rousseau.
No. Mike Hoyt, that they signed to a 3-year, $21 million contract before they signed Bosa.
Right. That's crazy.
$7 million in him, $12 million in Bosa, and then $8.5, $9 million in Ogunjobi. These are all backups, supposedly, right?
Right.
What
rotational guys?
Rotational guys that just proved the notion that you need an elite pass rusher in this defense.
I mean, to me, it just says the defensive line is going to be solely responsible for being the reason they're better on run defense, because we know the linebackers aren't going to be that reason, right? But here's the kicker for me. You give a guy like Larry Ogunjobi, and I promise you, we're not going to spend this entire episode pooping on the signings and all that kind of stuff. But what we're looking at is what it says about the Bills' game plan. Larry Ogunjobi is a past his prime run stuffer, and Pittsburgh didn't think he was good enough, right? Pittsburgh prides itself on great defensive line play, especially in an odd front, right? And for them to get rid of a 6'3", 305-pound run stuffer, and for the Bills to scoop him up and give him up to a max of $10 million for 1 year, that says to me we still think you can come in here and run stuff at 6'3", 305.
And that's the thing too. Everybody talk about how big he is. Okay, I'm not gonna go there again. But he's 6'5", 305.
6'3".
Oh, is he 6'3" now? He lost 2 inches. Okay.
Larry Ogunjobi?
Yeah, they said he was 6'5" earlier. I was like,
6'3", 305.
Okay. Yeah, that's really massive.
Right. Like I get that you're good against the run, but when you put him next to Ed Oliver, who are they stopping in the middle? Like the Ravens are gonna eat them alive.
You know who I saw the Ravens might be interested in?
Who?
Von Miller. I just saw it on the way in. I was like, oh.
What are we doing? What are we doing? The Derek Forrest thing, even that didn't need to happen.
No.
Like you're going out and getting guys who've been in the league and are coming in with, I would say the one thing that you can't get with a rookie, which is a guy that comes that knows how to be a professional at the NFL level. He's already acclimated to the way the NFL works. There is no ramp up period for him, right? So you get guys that kind of know how the business works and know most of what to do from a self-care standpoint, but you lose all of the upward potential from getting a rookie in here on a rookie deal and having him blow the league to pieces for 4 to 5 years before you even have to pay that guy. Yep. Right. And what does that say? Well, what that says is either your head coach doesn't trust your GM or your GM doesn't trust himself.
Yeah.
Because this idea of we're going to fill holes before we get to the draft so that we're not drafting desperate. You've been drafting desperate the last 3 years. I'm sorry. I'm going to take it back to what Ian said. Thank you, Ian. He says closing deficiencies on the roster. We're going to get back to closing deficiencies on the roster. Okay. This is unbelievable. Hey, like I am not giving you a button to control in there. I just want you to know. I'm not giving you a button. For y'all that don't know, that's his son. They do this all the time. Every day. It's like I live this. This is my life. Anyway,
can't play the game with him. Nothing. It's over with.
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, I think that carries over into what I wanted to get to now because we got like maybe 25 minutes left, right? The Bills have become way too culture-centric.
Yeah.
And the one thing that the Buffalo Bills have missed or lost sight of when it comes to what culture is supposed to do is culture is designed to allow you to gather men together from all different walks of life and all different circumstances and all different tiers and all different ranks and all different levels to accomplish one goal. What is that one goal? Well, for 32 NFL teams, including the Buffalo Bills, that goal should be winning a Super Bowl. It should be. But based on the moves that we've seen them make for the last 9 years, it's been more about what Sean McDermott has said and what Terry Pegula has said, which is annual, consistent winning of games. They don't ever want, like you hear Pegula talk, or not Pegula, you hear Brandon Beane say this all the time. We don't want to be a team that's drafting in the top 10. We don't want to be that team. Like they're adamant on saying that every single offseason. Well, it would be nice to get a guy like that, but you'd have to be in the top 10. We don't want to be that team that drafts that high. Well, there's another way to get that high and get that player if you really wanted to.
What you mean when you got like 13 draft picks?
I mean, you spend so much time racking them up, and you're not going to play them anyway in their first year. So why not, move up, get this guy, And even if you let him sit, he still comes in and he's still a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And again, I realize that might not be guaranteed, but that's not the point. The point is this culture that you've put together that's supposed to create this camaraderie and this love for each other and all that kind of stuff. It comes off as something that you're doing more for the feels of the owner, so that he can feel like he has an extended family, more so than it is about winning a championship for the people who support this team financially.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for crying out loud, the owner got us to pay for the stadium when he's got more money than all of us combined.
Yeah. That made me feel good. But I got to go to work in a little bit. That made me feel real good.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, my tax dollars are going to that big monstrosity that's across the street from Highmark Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm paying money for something, like I want to feel like, okay, we're that's leading towards something that equals success on any level, right? And getting to 2 AFC championship games in 9 years ain't it.
It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, I can see if those 2 years were the last 2, okay.
Right.
But you got there in your 4th year?
Yeah.
And now. So how do you follow that up? One, don't lose to Kansas City anymore. Because,
Can't guarantee that.
And that's what this Barron signing is. He's another tight end cover guy. He's another guy that covers tight end. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many? I don't know. You lost track. And I had one more quick point to piggyback off of that, because they get so Bills thought.
Mm-hmm.
Special teams. Can we talk about that just for a second?
Yeah.
Why do we emphasize special teams? Why? They fire Smiley. Why? Did you know the average start for the Bills opposing offenses is at the 33.5-yard line? The average drive against the Bills defense is 6 plays. The average drive distance, 33.4. So that means that any given time, they're kicking a field goal from the 33-yard line. So if you're doing that with a bad defense, if you beef that defense up, guess what? Why do we need guys on a team, 4 teams?
Right.
We don't need team-centric guys anymore. You need guys that can stop them from where we only gave up 2.92 points a drive, which is second worst in the league. It's a field goal. Our offense was number 1. They're not gonna fall that far off the planet, off the face of the earth this season coming up.
Right.
So guess what? Beef your defense up. Let teams be able to. Tyler Bass ain't good at kicking it inside between the 1 and 20 anyway. Just kick it through and take it to 35 and keep rocking.
Yeah.
But see, they want to be good on all 3 phases, but you're not good on defense. I just proved that your pass rush is no good. How were we on interception? Were we leading? Were we a menace in the back 7? No. We always find a quiet way to be in the top 10 or so, because we were, but there's nobody that strikes fear in anybody's hearts besides the collective.
Right.
So to me, like to your point earlier, you go all in and get Jahdae Barron from Texas. Why? Because he's a safety. He's a corner. He's a slot guy. And he's a damn good one at all 3. You can put him wherever you want. And I dare Bean and McDermott tell me he's not ready yet.
Right.
Put him wherever you want. And one of those, because you don't have a cornerback outside of Christian Benford. You about to mess around and not have Christian Benford.
Yeah.
Taron Johnson's getting older. Guess what? How long are we going to do song and dance with DeMar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp, Chris Bishop, and now Forrest? How long are we going to do this, Jane?
And they did it with Levi Wallace for 4 years.
For 4 years.
Why not?
So, I mean, the thing is, if you don't get a guy like Jahdae Barron, if you go ahead and get, I don't know, Chevelle Revel or Benjamin Morrison, who I pray to God, that's the guy they're going to pick, and I pray to God they don't, because he's not good. He's not good at all from Notre Dame. And he tore his ACL last year, so that makes him worse. Yeah, no. Jeez. So that's the guy that like, oh yeah, we need that, because he had 7 interceptions or whatever in this last season, but he can't tackle. He's not really a good cover guy, but he had 7 interceptions. We need that. So when they call that name in Buffalo, I'm like, you're going to see me with my head in my hands, and I'm going to be like, we did it again. We did it again.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so the position that you put yourself in, right? And again, the guys they signed, cool. They're older guys. Some of them are younger. I would like to think that the 2 younger guys that they signed are guys that they want to, invest in, but as we've seen, what it really comes down to for the Bills is these young guys they sign are placeholders.
Right.
They hope that these young guys that come in that are not, household names can pop here And then what they've done at that point is they've found the exception. They've found the Jerry Hugheses of the world. They found the Jason Peters of the world. That's what they're hoping for when they sign these guys. They hope that they're finding the Micah Hydes and the Jordan Poyers.
I was going to say they're
praying
Forrest is Jordan Poyer.
Absolutely.
To the T.
Absolutely. And that to me is the one thing that we've been talking about for the last 2-3 weeks that is scary about all of this, is that the Bills are going to sign these guys and expect this from them. What's going to happen if they draft a guy that comes in and beats them at that position? What's going to happen if they just gave all this money to Larry Ogunjobi and we do get one of those monsters in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round? They come in and they just blow Larry Ogunjobi out of the water. Now we either got to keep this guy on the roster and choke ourselves out for $10 million, or we got to cut him and pay him to not play for us.
Yep.
And we still lost that money anyway.
And what does it say about your credibility?
Exactly.
How do you get free agents after that? Because you run the risk, like you said, with Forrest. You told Mike Edwards he was going to be a starter. He didn't even see the field. Then you cut him. You told this guy that he's going to be a starter. He has a chance to be a starter. And then you go and sign the starter that you had last year. I could see if Damar Hamlin was still here and they said, we got him, but we want to give him competition. You in? Sure. Okay. I'll come to Buffalo. No problem. You guys are good. But when he comes in and says, oh, yeah, they don't have another starter. It's me and a second-year guy. Cool. And then they go get the starter they had last year back on, what was it, $2 million for one? That's tough. That's tough.
But it's never about getting better for them. It's always about, we know this guy. He knows our system. We don't have to do much to acclimate him.
Can I ask you about that when it comes to the system? Why is it that they don't understand when people say how hard the system is to learn? They probably should change it. Because your defense isn't good.
Exactly.
You probably should change it. Kev, that's for you. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, you think about a defense that's complex. Every time we had a complex defense, that means your players aren't good enough. And that means you have an excuse as to why your defense is underperforming. Rex Ryan, now McDermott. What is this? I mean, what is so complex about rushing 4 and the other? I mean, you're playing a man zone.
Yeah.
I get there's a little thinking there, but if you're a zone cornerback, if you're a zone linebacker, if you have Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano, you think they don't know football? One's your captain, one's been an all-pro in the league. Yeah. You think they don't know football? Come on now.
Well, a big part of this is the last 2 years in general. I'll say the last 3, pretty much since Micah Hyde hadn't been the same, right? The last 3 years, the Bills haven't been able to do one key thing that has made their defense one of the better defenses in the league, which is disguise. Even as the plays, and even as the ball is snapped, the ability to, get into position and the safeties can kind of, give up a little bit of space that they know they can make up so that it throws the quarterback off and maybe gets him to throw the ball to a spot where, they can pick it off. Just smaller stuff like that a heady, savvy football player, with veteran experience could do.
Right. And
what Sean is essentially done with his defense is he's created a defense that relies on guys being able to do that.
Yep.
To be heady, to be savvy, to bait the quarterback and kind of play around with the coverages a little bit in their zone cover. And everybody's got their responsibility, as everybody should in any kind of defensive scheme. But the way the Bills play defense, the way they play this eyes defense in this hybrid man zone scheme where I'm gonna play you tight in this zone until I pass you off to my man. But if my man is taking on his guy because he sees something, now I have to know enough to know I've got to stay with this guy while also making sure I'm not giving up too much leverage on it. You see what I'm saying? It's like, that's what makes it so complicated. It's all of the thinking that they have to do on the spot. And what that does is it makes players play slow.
Yeah. And what you just described, well, if you guys don't know, I was a basketball player. So what you described was a zone defense in basketball, help defense. You got to get to the strong side. You have to stay with people. And that's, if you draft a guy to be in a zone, if you run a zone, you better draft somebody that knows how to do what you just described, because if they don't, you're not a football player.
Right. Because
to me, that's not that difficult for somebody to play football at that level. If you know how to play football, if you know your responsibilities and the loose zone you're responsible for, you're always going to be, your head's on the swivel. They tell you that anyway. I'm with this guy. Oh, wait. Okay. And they're talking on the field.
Right.
They're saying, Matt, coming behind you, whatever. They're saying all this stuff. It's loud, whatever, but they can still hear each other. It's not insurmountable. It's a lot different on the field than what you think it is in the stands if you never played football before or any sport. You can hear stuff because we don't hear the stands. We hear each other. We're trained for that. Yep. So, I mean, I don't understand why it is that's an excuse as to why you got to get these older guys in who aren't in your system, Joey Bosa, who haven't been in the system, Larry Ogunjobi, but they can understand it. Yeah. But a rookie can't just play at the big house in front of 110,000 people. You got college students up there that just tasted beer. They going bananas up there. Yep. It's louder there than any NFL stadium, and they can do it there. Why can't they do it in Buffalo?
But you know what else that creates though too is for what the Bills, and you just said this, for what the Bills would need to fill those spots with rookies. Those rookies are probably going to be those blue chippers, those prominent players, those name players, because any player that takes that much time to study that much that much film and develop his body and get to a place where he can make those kind of plays at the college level, he's going to be too high for what the Bills want to, give up to go get, or he's going to be too much of a name for what Sean wants to allow in his locker room. Mm-hmm. Like, we still got to keep in mind, Sean is now 2 years, I would say a year removed from players and coaches talking about how he's taken a step back in a sense and taken a softer approach to how he runs the team. The idea of him doing this player, this player oversight committee or whatever that he does, he has several players that he meets with on a regular basis, and they're the ones that are in charge for kind of, running the team culture the way that he wants it run. So what I'm bringing that up to say is Sean McDermott still has a very tight hold on this team when it comes to, I want the guys that I want guys that are not going to ask questions. I want guys that are not, and when I say ask questions, not question the coach's, decisions. I want guys that are going to know their place. They're not going to get out of line. They're not going to, question anything about the scheme and what we're doing. They're just going to do what they're told. They want obedient players. They want guys that when they come to Buffalo, they just appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Right.
What did we hear Khalil Shakir say when he did his interview? Man, I'm just happy to be here. I just feel so blessed. I feel so honored. Those are the guys the Bills want. Yeah. Exactly. They want every last one of their players to sound exactly like that. Mm-hmm. And when you have a head coach that's more invested in getting players like that, you're essentially going to get players in here that aren't that good, because who are the guys that talk like that? It's not the great players. The great players know they're great. They might be humble, but they're not talking like that.
I'm glad I got my money. Let's get to work.
Right.
Even Rasul Douglas, when he came in, he said, what did he say? He said, you saw what I did last year. Now I'm going to try to replicate it so they can see what I'm worth and give me and pay me accordingly. It wasn't about, I'm just so glad to be here. There's 31 other jobs out there.
That's right.
And you're not out. If you don't make it in Buffalo, you're not out of the league. I mean, you look at, Kyer Elam. He hasn't played a lick almost in NFL. Yep. He just garnered him 2 draft picks. Yep. I mean, it's that simple. You're going to be wanted somewhere. So Khalil Shakir coming off of the top wide receiver in Buffalo. You think people don't want to slot a lot of way we wanted Cole Beasley when he first came to Buffalo?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this culture, half of that word can become something very dangerous.
Yeah, no, chore is crazy.
Right. We're definitely talking about chore. That T-U-R-E can become extremely dangerous if left unchecked. But I wanted to get to this point. I wanted to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to getting an owner to change their mind, what do you think that would take from a fan base?
If Buffalo decided to not go to games, if Buffalo decided to change the experience at the stadium, and when I say Buffalo, I'm talking about fans, not the front office.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably alarm Pagula.
Okay, so let's work through that thought. Right? Let's figure this out. Right? Because the first thing that comes to my mind is ain't nobody taking games off. I mean, Josh Allen is on the field. I'm going to. I got season tickets. I'm going to these games.
Mhm.
I'm not going to sit home.
Right.
So what are some other ways that Bills fans can, still go and watch the team they love play, but also, make an impact on the owner to say, look, 2 AFC championships is not enough.
Mhm.
We need to do better.
Yeah, honestly, I don't see a way. I don't. Like I said, Pagula, we talked about how what his perception is, what his touch is amongst the stadium. We've talked about not going, but nobody's not going to go. We all love the Bills too much, even though we spent the last 56 minutes talking mess about the Bills, or whatever time it's been. We do this out of love, and people, they show love differently.
Yeah.
We get angry, they get happy, they get overjoyed, they make apologies for the team, and Pagula reads that and doesn't hear the people that say, what are you doing?
Right.
Because the people that are saying what are you doing is paying right next to people that they're passionate because they know they're going to pay for it. So people like us, even though I'm not so much because I got to work, but people like us are mad, not because the Bills look stupid, but because we know we're going to go watch them. We can't wait to see them on Sunday. And for a lot of us, that's the only game you're going to watch that week. So when the Bills are off, I'm not watching nothing else.
Right.
So I get mad when what I see on the field isn't what I think I should be seeing. It's not that I think they should do everything I want them to do. I wish it worked that way, but the world doesn't. But I just want it to be better. And for Pagula, I don't know of a way where Pagula would care enough, because he's a fan of the Sabres. The Sabres. Let that sink in.
Right.
The worst team in hockey by a mile.
He owns and is a fan of it.
He owns. He is a fan because he owns because he's a fan.
Right.
And the Bills, he just bought them for us because he felt bad for us. He don't care about the Bills.
Right.
As long as they making money, he don't care about nothing else. He just stopped coming. He like, it's cold out there. I don't want to get stuck in that traffic. Pagula Express can't land at the 50-yard line. I'm gonna go ahead and stay home.
Yeah.
My wife is sick. I got better things to do. You guys have at it. Go have those $15 beers. Enjoy yourself. But I'm gonna be here. And when you guys get done, clean it up, turn off the lights, and give me my money.
Yeah. Yeah. We've seen the Bills hire CEOs, CFOs, all that kind of stuff, right? I think the one thing that Pagula could do that I don't think Sean would. Well, I guess there's no good way to take this, but Pagula could hire a president of football operations, and that guy would oversee Bean and Sean, so that you wouldn't have to necessarily pit those two against each other, but you would have a guy who knows football and is able to kind of have some better oversight that an owner should have over a GM and the head coach, that Pagula doesn't have the foundation of knowledge to really make an impact with. And that's no slight on Pagula. He's been the owner for several years. I'm sure he's got a decent foundation and understanding of what successful teams do. He's got 31 other ones around him doing all kinds of things, and he's watched what the Chiefs and the Eagles have done and all these other teams that have won Super Bowls during his time. But I think if we go another 2 years of early or late playoff exits, just playoff exits in general are pretty much all the same now after you've made the AFC Championship more than once and have not been to a Super Bowl. They all just mesh together. There is no, after last year, there's no more tears.
Right.
There is no more we're close. We were close 4 years ago. Or 5 years ago now. You know what I'm saying? So that is dead in the water. This idea of we just got to make a few moves. The Buffalo Bills just told you with all these moves, they don't think they're that close. Because if they did, they would make a Von Miller-esque type of move. And Joey Bosa's not that. Joey Bosa is a more controlled version of that. Right? The Bills thought they were getting an elite pass rusher with a team that they thought was stacked because national media was telling the Bills that they were stacked back in 2021. So all of this is to say, you get a president of football operations in the door, there's more oversight, there's more accountability, there's a better chance of us getting better players, and we don't have to fire anybody. To me, and I've given this a lot of thought, I think that is the most peaceful and most effective option that our owner has at this point. And I think the fans should start to pressure for some of that this year, next year, and the year after that. No matter what. And the reason I say no matter what is if we want this team to be a consistent winner every year, they've got to start getting better at the draft. They cannot do what they've been doing. The fact that they treat the first and second round picks the way they do as developmental players, as guys that they think are young and have to come in and learn the NFL game. This is not college, but that's how they run this system. That's how they run this. You've heard Sean say this program before, right? So it's a college mindset. The 4-2-5 in general, that nickel defense is a college defense. It's not meant to be a base for any team. You run different formations, you have different looks, you do different things on defense, but the foundation of the NFL defense has always been your 5-2s and your 4-3s and your 3-4 odd fronts. You know what I'm saying? Like your 4-6s. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those are foundational formations, and over time, the teams have had to learn you can't just sit in one formation. You got to be able to mix it up. You got to be able to do different things. Now, looking at the safeties that we got, you brought this out too. Where's the cover safety? It's not, you know what I'm saying? So again, all of this leans on heavily the point that we need somebody else to hold Bean's feet to the fire and hold Sean's feet to the fire, to make sure that the guys they're getting in the door not only fit the culture, but can do everything needed for a defense that needs a lot of help. You're either going to fix the scheme or you're going to fix the players you get into it. But there's nobody to tell Sean right now that has any impact. There's nobody to go and knock on Bean's door and say this has got to change. You got to stop trying to pick these first and second round players. Let your scouts do it.
Yeah, I think that with the regime we have now, they go into Hugula's office in the exit interviews and say, we're close, and he's like, oh, okay, cool, but you need somebody to say, you really aren't. You're really not. And yeah, you let the media gloss you, let the fans gloss you, let podcasters, like everybody gloss you're great, blah blah blah, but you're really not. Because let me show you why. And I don't even have the answers for that. I'm not that guy. You're not that guy. But I can tell you that there is somebody to be like, you know what? You failed here. You could have been better there. This is your progress report.
Yep.
And that's what you should be getting, a progress. Who do they go to the office after a loss and sit with and listen to and hash out what they did and didn't do? It ain't who's watching the film with you, because you say that guy's out of position. That's not his responsibility. That's not his strong suit. Why is he doing that? But Glue's not doing that. And Bean's not going to say anything because Bean believes in it's probably, I almost believe in more Bean's construct than McDermott. McDermott's like, cool, I'd like it. But the reason why he brought Bean in is because they thought alike at one point in time, and now they may not. But McDermott's like, whoa, wait a minute. I got this scheme. This is what I do right here.
Yeah.
You're doing that, but I need this. And this still ain't gonna work, but I want this instead. I want Dane Jackson back. Get him. I want Mac Hollins back because he's a core special teamer. He's a blocker. I ain't saying anything about receiving. That's the thing. I didn't say anything about what they were brought in for. Just they do this stuff.
Exactly. And that is probably the most frustrating part, is that, again, back to my original point, like there's nobody to point this out inside the building.
Yeah.
There's nobody there to point this out. And look, I don't want this episode to end on people thinking we hate the Bills or people thinking, we think the team is trash. Like we were just in the AFC Championship game. And can these moves be good moves? Yeah, they probably will be good moves for the Buffalo Bills, but there's one specific reason why. Because we have Josh Allen. Like, again, that's the end all fix all for if any of these moves go bad. It doesn't matter because we're still going to win the division. We're still going to get to the playoffs because we have Josh Allen.
And I blame him. I blame him because he gave him money for us to get this stuff. Just take your cheddar. Just take it to the. What is 5? This man had the audacity. I mean, what is 5 or 10 when I got everything I need? Bull crap. Never. From the mouth of a broke man, you don't have all you need because it can all be taken away just like that.
Yeah.
You got a house and a car. Man, bump all that.
Yeah.
Bump that. But no, seriously, I mean, when you're talking about why do we talk this way? If we were trash, I'd be happy about Bosa. If we were trash,
Absolutely.
I'd be happy about Forrest. If we were trash, oh yeah, Josh Palmer, I heard him before. We got this dude. But see, that's where we were 20 years ago.
We used to get. I remember having those conversations like, oh, this dude played for the Chargers. They were in the playoffs last year. Oh, that means he's got to be good.
He's got to be good. And he came to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Get his jersey because he actually picked us over. Everybody else is winning. Now we're the criminal. We're signing 30-year-olds.
That's it.
When you could go get Javon Holland, you could have went and you could have just saved all this and never signed Von Miller, and you would have had money.
Yep.
And then when they were talking that when they were talking about Von Miller might come back, I'm like, how does that work money wise? Because he didn't take a pay cut, so you're gonna re-sign him after already carrying his dead. Like if they did that, I was gonna lose. I wouldn't have been here on this show. This show wouldn't happen because that would have blown my mind.
Look, at the end of the day, this show is about asking why. It's about asking how, why, and who's accountable for this, who's responsible for this. At the end of the day, that's what life is about. You know what I'm saying? You don't just sign every contract that people put in front of you. You got to read it. Mm-hmm. You don't just take every deal that people offer you. You got to read through it and make sure it's legit. Make sure it works for you. You don't just take every job that everybody offers you. You look through it. You make sure that it has the perks that you want, or make sure that you can handle the job, or whatever the case may be. There are caveats and context to every situation, and we have to get to a point as a fan base where we're starting to ask these questions, whether we're successful during the regular season or not. Mm-hmm. Because we for sure were asking a lot of these questions when the team was in the drought and we didn't have a quarterback and we were bad. We asked a lot of these questions. Mm-hmm. We asked the hard questions to the coach. People don't realize this. WGR was not the radio station of the Buffalo Bills for most of the drought. Mm-hmm. They lost that. Why? Because Buffalo news reporters were getting on the radio and questioning the Bills. The radio show hosts were questioning the Bills and giving 2-minute long rants about the decisions that the Bills were making.
I wonder who rants on 550.
Right. This is how WGR lost that contract in the first place. Mm-hmm. They got it back, and then all of a sudden, Sal Capaccio's got his spot on there. He works for the Bills. One Bills Live is on there. One Bills Live doesn't pop up on WGR's YouTube channel. You gotta go on the Buffalo Bills website to watch them. Mm-hmm. Right. So my point in saying all this is when you look at where we were during the drought and questioning the team and all that kind of stuff, what did they do? They retracted. They stepped away. They backed up. Because they didn't want people in their mix. They didn't want people questioning them. They didn't want people, talking bad about them. How hurt of a team, how butthurt of a team do you have to be to get like that when your fan base is starting to get on you? Because I tell you what, Philly, they do it whether you're good or not.
Oh, yeah.
I've said this several times already. Philadelphia gets on their team's butt. Mm-hmm. Whether they're good or not. They were 1 year removed from being in a Super Bowl and losing to the Chiefs, and they started questioning the head coach. He had only been there for 2 years at that point.
Right.
Got to a Super Bowl in the second year. In the third year, you question, he's on the hot seat, national news. The owner didn't step in and say not one word to quelch any of that stuff. He let it go. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they're a big city that thinks big. Mm-hmm. And that's no disrespect to us and where we are, but I think the mentality needs to change. I think the idea that we can't challenge this team, there's a big difference between challenging my wife and pushing my wife to be great in her area of expertise and telling her she can't do it and she's terrible and she this and that. We're not sitting here saying that the Bills are terrible. We're not sitting here saying the Bills can't do it.
The opposite, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What we're saying is we love you,
Mhm.
but we see some things that you're doing that could be better, and we want you to realize it yourself. Don't tell us that we're crazy. Don't tell us that we're wrong. Actually listen and then think about whether or not we might be right.
Mhm.
Think about whether or not we might be on to something.
It's like an ongoing intervention. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing, because it's like you keep doing the same things. We're like, yo, you're good, but this is what you had. But no, we want to keep doing. Don't do that. You know, we're effectively being that pro personnel director that they don't have, that they're not listening to, because that's us. We're just not getting paid for it.
Right.
You know, we're doing the exact same job, saying the exact same stuff they be telling them, but they're not listening to us. They're not listening to them, and Pagula just don't care.
That's it. That's it. Look, at this point, I want to give a shout out to Darrington Evans.
What do you do?
He never left.
Oh yeah, okay.
He signed his deal. He never left.
Mhm.
You know, but then like literally 30 seconds later, the team brought back Ty Johnson. So,
Mhm. Oh yeah, just like Forrest.
Hopefully Evans didn't think he was getting a shot to come in and play running back 3 after, especially like that's the other thing too. Like after watching Ty Johnson and what he did last year, Darrington Evans getting that contract was probably like, oh yeah, this is my shot. You know what I'm saying? Cook want the bag. Okay, his playing time might go down because it don't look like they want to pay him. Now all I got to compete with is Ray Davis. Man, come on, let's get it.
Easy, yeah,
you know
easy
what I'm
money.
saying? So by the way, Evans, we just signed Ty Johnson.
He like, what about Gore? Is he back? Yeah, we got him too. Mother.
Right.
But you know, and that's the crazy thing about it. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, well, not talk about, just mention, was the fact that we re-signed Reggie Gilliam.
Yeah.
Why? Me,
Kyle Juszczyk was out there.
Would you see my notes that you can't even see anymore?
No.
Kyle, he's still out there.
Is he really?
Yeah, he was owed $4 million. They cut him. 33 years old. You think Reggie Gilliam is $2 million or Kyle Juszczyk at 3.5?
Why don't we sign Kyle Juszczyk and he can just be an age back? He can be like a third tight end.
He could be like what we do Eli Anku every year.
Exactly.
That would be good. That'd be Gilliam. Oh, we're gonna need that jersey off you, son. Again? Yeah. Just get up off it. We got Juszczyk now. What's the thing about Juszczyk is they're doing everything they can not to give James Cook the bag.
Mm-hmm.
If you gave James Cook a bona fide fullback, somebody that's done it in front of McCaffrey for years, somebody that was revered as the best. I think he was in Atlanta, wasn't he? Before
Juszczyk?
Yeah. Where was he before San Francisco?
Was he in Baltimore?
He was somewhere.
I
DeMarco was Atlanta. That's right. We got the Atlanta guy, and Juszczyk was the number 1. We got the number 2. That's what it was. Yeah. Whoever he came from. Anyway, he was lined up before a good running back.
Mm-hmm.
He's lined up before probably the best running back. Now, one that James Cook said I modeled my game after. Mm-hmm. Let's not do that, because we don't want him to justify the $15 million, because we got fans on our side that say he's replaceable. We don't want him to start oozing and easing over here. We want everybody to stay right over there and say running backs are dime a dozen, not pay him. Yep. Saquon Barkley said, name by name, he said Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and James Cook need to get the bag. Saquon Barkley said this. He named 3 running backs, and James Cook was one of them. He said the elite backs like Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and James Cook. Elite. He said it.
Wow. If that don't say it, nothing else will. Nothing else will.
Yeah, himbo don't matter, I guess.
Look, we got to get going. We appreciate everybody that tuned in today. We will be back here next Wednesday, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us on the Buffalo Media Network. That's where the show is living, breathing, and growing. Buffalo Media Network, steady coming up on the come up. So make sure you get there and just tell us what's on your mind. You know what I'm saying? We're always down to talk. We always down to comment, and I'm always checking. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you guys want to have a conversation about, whatever you think you want to hear us talk about on the show, don't be afraid to just throw it up there. You never know. We might pick it up. We might run with it. You know what I'm saying? So, as
I always say, if you're going to slander us, you got to subscribe.
That's right. You can't talk no stuff
can't
about
talk no
this
stuff
show
unless you hit that button.
That's right.
It better say follow wherever you're watching this.
All right. This has been the Unbelievable Podcast. We will see y'all next week.